Hello, it's time for another lecture on the runes. Today we're going to be talking about the last rune of the first 8. You'll remember maybe from the introduction I gave that the 24 runes of the Elder Futhark, the old runic alphabet, are divided into 3 sets of 8. And today we're getting to the last one, which is called Wunjo. Now, Wunjo means joy, usually, is what you see it translated as. But it can also be understood as more than just joy in some sense of happiness or something like that, though it certainly can mean that. It also represents the concept of kind of ecstasy. So I'm probably going to end up talking more about this in a later video, but the set of the first 8 runes have to do with the mysteries of life and with the work of kind of spiritual self-growth, right? And so they begin in the entirely material. Way back, you might recall when we started, the very first rune that was covered was the rune Fehu, which I'm trying to see now if I've got it. Oh, I do have it here, yeah. So Fehu was a material rune, right? It was about matter. And now we've gone all the way to something completely immaterial, right? But they're both forms, in a way, of wealth, right? Fehu was the cow, the cattle, and the wealth that represented in that culture. And Wunjo is joy, and the other kind of wealth, not the wealth of riches, but the wealth of happiness, right? So Wunjo is a concept that represents joy. It represents cheerfulness, a lack of care, and it also has been associated traditionally with courage. So it's important to be cheerful, to be brave, right? Part of bravery means that you are carefree in terms of your fears, right? If you overcome fear, that brings a kind of ecstasy to it. And if you then are free of fear and in that kind of ecstasy, you can do great things. So there's a lot of power. This isn't just, oh, I feel happy, right? This is the power of joyfulness as a magical energy. And you can see in the imagery, you have from the bottom, from the Well of Weird, the vertical line, as usual, which then it comes out and then returns. So you have a full circuit here. It reminds a little bit of Thurisaz, the thorn rune, which you'll recall has a similar shape, but has that branching out in the middle. So that's a kind of a lack of completion. Here you see this as something in a more elevated state, right? You've filled to the highest potential of things, right? It's a totality that comes only from the fulfillment of your will. So there's an element here of establishing. Everything is completed in the first 8. You're now united to a kind of a sense of purpose, and that this in turn brings a kind of ecstasy. So when you're talking about Wunjo in a kind of divinatory sense, it can often be a rune that signifies an intermediate state. You're coming to the end of a whole process that now opens up a potential to move, to go forward in a new beginning, not unlike the chariot in the major arcana of the tarot. And so Wunjo is this state of being tapped into your will. Wunjo is W in the alphabet, so W is for will. You're connected and therefore ecstatic and therefore able to move forward, to jump into the future, right? It's the triumph of a harmony that begins in the material. That doesn't, it's not, I don't think it's moving you away from the material, but it's an expansion of all these things, all the steps in between, right? Urus, which is the importance of perseverance, Thurisas, right, which is the ability to triumph in conflict, Ansur, which is intelligence, perception, understanding, Raidu, which is discovering a path, discovering a way to move. And so Wunjo is now the culmination of all those first 8, and here you are jumping forward kind of into the unknown. Not that all of it is going to be easy from then on, which is notable in that the rune that follows Wunjo is called the hailstorm, right? And I guess we're going to talk more about that in the next video.